So correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think I'm setting a personal record today. This is now the 4th time I have been live on this channel today. And I don't think I've done that before.
Yes.
No, you have not.
Very
done
impressive.
That before.
Insane. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I've posted
like we just saw each
before,
other.
But I know. I know. Everybody keeps turning up, so I just keep doing it. Good evening, everybody. It's Sidebar.
Good evening.
Good evening.
No
Hello.
Lindsay tonight. Lindsay is under the weather. So happy thoughts for Lindsay that she feels better soon.
Happy thoughts.
Feel
Yes.
better,
Happy
Lindsay.
Now that we've had our happy thoughts, I want to be pissed off for a while.
Yay.
So, yeah. So what we want to talk about tonight is the Judge Prill hearing that we saw yesterday.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it was yesterday. Guy named Mark Rolfe. He apparently did some crime involving somebody under 18.
Mhm.
Not ideal. Allegedly, of course. He's not been convicted. He was out on bond.
Yes.
He owns and operates a movie theater where children are present. They did not bar him from being in his theater and owning and operating it. And then they revoked his bond because he ran across children in his movie theater. I don't like that.
Yep. I don't either.
So
Very, very pissed off about that. But what do you say, Ashley?
I get why you're pissed off about it. And the issue really was from him working the counter. Because he was a staff member or he was an employee down and he had to work the counter, and it was weird to me because he was taking tickets and somebody's children were there, aged around 11 and 14. And yeah, he was giving them tickets and everything. And a citizen took a picture of him taking the tickets from these children, and reported it. And I thought that was kind of strange. I don't understand. How would a random citizen know that he's not supposed to be? It just seems kind of staged to me. Maybe it's just me, but it's just kind of weird that he just took a picture, and trying to catch him type of thing.
I kind of thought that too, and what I was wondering is how much news coverage had been done about his alleged crime.
And I'm looking
area.
right now.
Because that's the only way, unless the guy who took the picture somehow was affiliated with the court or the PD and knew about it.
Yeah.
That is
bond
just
condition.
one of the many strange things in this case.
Yes.
Although that definitely is among the top parts of that. I have a lot of problems with this. I rant about this stuff with Judge Stevens a lot, that in a similar vein that he sets these ridiculous bonds and it's almost ostensibly chastises a person as guilty when they have not pled to a crime, they have not been convicted of a crime, and he sets these ridiculous bond conditions and has these ridiculously high bonds for somebody that, in some cases, it's the accusation may be serious, sometimes very serious, maybe sometimes not even that serious, relatively speaking.
Right.
Yeah, but this is one of those where I thought it's even worse because this is kind of this guy's business.
Yep.
You're saying, even though not and I'm not here to defend somebody that is accused of or has done child stuff, but our system is founded on the principle of innocent until proven guilty. you carry the presumption of innocence with you. And so, yes, there is an obligation to protect society and to a degree, but the purpose of bond is really to ensure that the person appears in court. That's at least one of its purposes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think dude is going to appear in court. This isn't exactly, Los Angeles. This is a smaller community,
Right,
in Michigan. And, a lot of people know each other there.
Yeah.
So
might be also another reason. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, this is part of the guy's business. I don't see how this was a fair condition or this just seemed to the guy works at a theater. Children go to the theater.
And it's not like he was like in a storage room or something with a minor. He was out in the middle in the open taking tickets from them around other people. So
I was
it's
just gonna say this.
Yeah. So I don't see
Right. This isn't even like a daycare or anything.
I don't see the gravity of that situation first off, and it's kind of what makes it even worse is they appeared upon this issue before. This issue was brought to the court before about him working in a movie theater.
I have a whole write-up on him when we're ready.
Okay, gotcha. He was. They went to court before on this issue, and they said that, they pretty much said this is part of your bond condition still, and like you're not supposed to gravitate anywhere from it, type of thing, which is very unreasonable in my opinion.
So let me give us the background on this guy because I've got it now.
Okay.
So Mark Rolfe, age 54, lives in Bad Axe. He's the owner of the Bad Axe Theater and the Long Shot Lanes bowling alley. He's lived in the area since '89, started as a projectionist in the theater, became the manager, and purchased it in 2004. Post-pandemic, faced ongoing financial pressure, as most theaters have. At one point, there was a GoFundMe to keep the theater going, it looks like. January 2026, so the beginning of this year, he was charged with 3 counts of first-degree CSC, punishable by up to life in prison. Prosecutors alleged multiple sexual assaults of a female underage employee, underage 16 at the time, roughly aged 13 to 15, between May 2006 and December 2008, 20 years ago, with at least one incident at the theater. The alleged victim reported it to Bad Axe police in the fall of 25, leading to an investigation. Bond initially set at $50,000 with a no contact with anyone under 18. Late February, early March, additional charges filed, initially reported as 2 counts of 4th-degree CSC plus 1 count of witness intimidation involving separate alleged victims, and claims he pressured one not to report to police. He pleaded not guilty to those. April preliminary exam on additional counts. 2 former theater employees, now adults, testified about alleged sexually explicit conversations, non-consensual touching, and expensive gifts. Judge Julianne Ferris bound him over on 7 counts of 4th-degree CSC. He later stood mute, entered not guilty pleas on those. July, additional 4th-degree CSC counts filed, bringing the total charges to 11. And then what we saw yesterday. So now my question is, given all of those allegations, and it does note, by the way, that he did hire a manager. So there is somebody in there working in the management position, but he's still allowed in the theater.
Yeah, and that manager might have been out. That might have been the person that
might have
was
been the
out.
one missing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But why did they not I don't see anywhere where he was banned from his theater.
Right.
So if he's not banned from his theater, how exactly does it? And to his lawyer's point, just going through life, how exactly does a no contact with anybody under 18 work?
It doesn't.
It's
Right.
not practical. And
That
I mean,
might as well be a house
What's-
arrest type of situation.
what's going to happen if a family's got a complaint? They're going to want to seek out the owner manager. So what? So he gets called out there, and there's a mom and a dad and 2 kids, and now he's in violation because a customer demanded to see him.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's why the defense tried to bring up the grocery store analogy, like if he met a minor in a grocery, like that type of analogy. And I understand, I get that. But at the same time, I agree with Dan. He shouldn't have been allowed to go into the theater around children, if that was the point.
Julie, respectfully, can you really say that he took advantage of a gap in conditions? Took advantage how? There's no allegation that on that day he did anything to anybody. So how exactly would that be taking advantage of a gap in conditions? He's running his business because he's been allowed to.
Yeah, and somebody
This
just
is
happened.
my problem with it. It doesn't set anybody up for success. It just
Some-
doesn't when
somebody
courts
just
pull crap
happened-
like this.
Yeah, somebody just happened to be out. That was supposed to work the counter, and he took over, and there was some big movies coming out, so it was either him taking over the counter
Yeah.
or him closing. So that was his issue, is that if he wasn't going to work the counter, he would have to close his theater during that time period.
Yep. And then I bet the one thing I was thinking of is if he would have chosen to do that, said, okay, I'm done with the theater until the end of this case, he would have been yelled at for not working. Or he
Right,
would have
'cause
been.
part of his
Well,
by
and
the
that's
court.
the thing is the
So-
court always sets conditions that you have to maintain employment and these kinds
Yeah.
of things. And so then if he doesn't work because he doesn't want to risk having any contact with anyone under 18, then he'd get dinged for not working. But so you might say, okay, well then he should get another job. What job can you possibly get where you don't even have the chance of contact with a minor, other than maybe being like a
Work from
stalker at a grocery store or at a big warehouse or something? Maybe.
Or an
But I
over
mean-
the road trucker, maybe, but
Yeah.
that would
yeah,
never
over-
happen because you got to go over. State
a work
line.
from home, a
Yeah.
trucker, that type of thing. Yeah.
Well, not
Yeah,
even a
work from
trucker.
home.
What happens at a truck stop when you go into the store to grab yourself something to eat? and
Yep, there
there's kids in
might. There very well might be.
Didn't
Yeah.
think of that.
That's
So-
the grocery store analogy again.
And again, it's not. Believe me, I'm not defending this guy if in fact he is guilty of these things, because of
Yeah.
course we don't know. He carries the presumption of innocence. But that's the thing is when and again, I don't care. This guy, let's say it wasn't. Judge Boyd will often in felony cases say that you're not allowed to have contact with minors, right? With elderly minors, whatever. Although those conditions are, I think they're not quite as harsh as these, but
Rigid, yeah.
but let's say it wasn't even a child case like this. It's just maybe an assault, or maybe it's a burglary of a habitation or whatever. It's still the condition is still. I think it's an unreasonable condition to have if we're going to say that this person should be out in society because they've posted bond.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you say, okay, they can't have contact with a minor, like in their home or something. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have any personal
that would make
one-on-one,
Yeah.
non-family member kind of contact, like, that sort of, and obviously not with the victim. Sure. But just in society at large, again, my fundamental problem with this is that just like I always say about the Judge Stevens thing, is that it just overrides that presumption of innocence.
Yeah.
I mean, are we protecting now? Again, is he likely guilty, or is it very possible based on the allegations? There's, this is one of those where it's stacked up. There's a very good chance that he is, but it's not a for sure. And
you know what? I wouldn't put it above 50-50.
Yep.
Which is why the court was so insistent, I think, that it should apply to the theater. To try to think in the court's point of view, that is why they upheld that there, because lots of these incidences happened in the theater. And if you're just going to do that, just don't allow him to work in the theater. But at the same, then you have that caveat about not working. So I don't know how you would exactly do that either.
Well, that's just it. And here's, I'm kind of aligned with Mike on this when we talk about the presumption of innocence. I don't think it exists.
It doesn't.
I really don't. Not in modern society.
It doesn't.
With the way information flows. I mean, good Lord. I just went to Grok while you guys were talking, and I said, tell me everything about Mark Rolfe from Huron County, Michigan. And that's what gave me that report, cited with sources and everything else. And I had it in a minute. Mm-hmm. So, but it's all allegations. But if you read that, it's damning.
Right.
But in the same respect, and I'm sure I'll, get in trouble with some people for this, but how many times over the years have we seen allegations thrown in front of somebody for this kind of abuse only to find out that it's not true? That happens too.
Yeah. I agree.
If we're being intellectually honest, that's why I said I'm 50-50 on whether this guy's guilty or not. He might be. He might not. Right. I don't know.
Right.
None of this is proven out in court. At this point, it's allegations.
Absolutely.
And these things are often a he said, she said thing.
Yeah, that's
and you just don't know. So there's that. But then you put the guy in a situation where, he's going to violate just by default because you say it's your business. Go run it. Go to work. But then you say, but you can't have contact with minors. Well, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean patting them on the head? Is that contact? Or is it you're in a building and a minor walks by you? Is that really contact?
I don't think that was stipulated.
But that's what they're alleging here.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Now, if they said no harmful, injurious contact, that would be be reasonable.
No physical contact. Okay.
No physical.
And he could run that business with no physical contact.
Absolutely.
If he's working the concession, set everything down on the counter. Don't hand it to him. Just set it down. No physical contact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's literally, and I think that's what he was doing that day.
But a lot of the time, contact in these cases, the context generally means, close proximity. It's not even physical, like touching. It's like, hey, you can't even be, this kind of distance.
It was behind
so practical.
It isn't. And again, I think if this guy had already pled guilty and was awaiting sentencing and he was still out, that'd be one thing. Or if he had a long history of convictions, I could see maybe something like that. But again, usually in that kind of a case, someone is held at no bond or some ridiculous bond in states where you have to have bonds so that he's ostensibly locked up anyway.
He's got allegations that are 20 years old, and so often one person steps up and more follow. But,
especially in a small
sometimes
community.
it's truth, sometimes it's ganging on,
right?
And a 20-year memory isn't exactly solid either because your brain reworks what you remember. So none of us remember things as they truly were.
That's true.
And I'm not.
Correct.
Let's make it clear. I'm not saying that he's falsely accused. I'm saying I don't know.
Yeah.
None of us.
Well, that's
do,
why there's the
until it
presumption
proves
of
out in
innocence,
court.
Dan.
Exactly.
That's why
I am saying
that's
he's
why
got
we
a
have
presumption
that.
of innocence, and I am
He
saying
may-
this guy was set up horribly.
Yes.
Absolutely horribly.
Yeah. he may be a total monster, but we won't know that until there's a trial.
No.
Correct.
Until a jury of his peers has convicted him, or until he has pled guilty, or have been found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt. Jefferson County. That's the only way that you're going to know is if that happens. Until then, and this is just such a weird thing, and we see this a lot. This isn't just take this case kind of and set it to the side. But we have seen this in other cases, too, where people are kind of set up to fail in these bond conditions.
Yes.
Somebody is like, well, all right, well, you have to go out and get employed. All right, but if you've got prior felony convictions, it's very hard to get employed. And I know that's a you problem. I get it. You shouldn't have made those bad choices, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But even if you don't have prior felony convictions, if you're just the fact that you're in the system can make it harder for you to get a job. And right now, the job markets are, they're not great.
Nope.
And so that's why it can be harder for people to get jobs too. So then, you have somebody that's in front of you that while they haven't been convicted, they're in the system. And again, this goes back to presumption of innocence. Presumption of innocence is just a concept. But if somebody comes before you and they've been accused of a crime, a lot of people will assume that person did that crime and that they're already a monster. They've already damned them to the pits of Tartarus because they've committed a crime in their minds. So,
Yeah,
Just
that's
because
true.
the case is filed, that
yeah.
with some people it makes them guilty, even though the case has only been filed.
Yeah,
I-
and I disagree with the court in the fact that it's a movie weekend with Spider-Man and the Odyssey coming out. It can't be irrelevant that he is going against a direct order of the is going against a direct order. I don't think that's how is it irrelevant? I mean, that's why he stayed open. I mean, if it wasn't a big deal, he would just close and just reopen the next day when the employee's back.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't quite get why they're so against him. I mean, I get that there's a lot of allegedly stuff happening in the theater, but
It's not just that.
said,
Then why is he in the theater?
Yeah.
I know, that's what I'm
If
If they're
saying.
so concerned about the damn theater, why wasn't it ruled right at the start you can't be in your theater?
Yep.
Right. Because he can
Sorry,
still have
gotta go-
employees working the
Gotta
theater
go
without
figure
him
out
in it.
somebody else to run it for you. You can't step in there during the
'Cause
pendency of this case.
Because I guarantee you, Judge Boyd, that would have been the first thing she did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Yeah.
judges we see that would have been the first thing.
All the judges would have said, I don't care, that's your business. You have to find somebody that can run your business.
Furthermore, you can't tell me that Judge Prill and the other judge that saw him at a district level, I forget her name, Julianne something. You
Yep.
can't tell me that they haven't been to that theater. They live there.
Oh, I bet
Right.
they have.
So they know the theater. They
Yeah.
know how it looks. They know how it works. I guarantee you it's not a secret to them.
Yep.
It's not a
But
secret
nobody
to
had the
anybody else.
foresight to say, maybe he shouldn't be in there if we're concerned that he's some kind of predator.
Yeah, because it's like, well, we know children go, but so then all of a sudden they get concerned down the road about it, which is kind of like, well, all right, how can we retroactively screw this guy that we, pretty much have already condemned as a monster? And again, could very well be a monster, but we don't know that. The judges don't. Nobody knows that. The only person that really knows that guy is in fact a monster is that guy.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
So if he did, in thinking this through, if he did post bond and this is his job, what would he have done otherwise? And that's a good question too. I guess he could work part-time somewhere else, but if you work part-time somewhere else, there are likely to be children there as well.
Well, about the only thing I could think of is, okay, well, maybe he has to work at a call center or
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
It's-
something.
I was
Something
gonna,
like
then
that.
what if a child calls?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess is
would
that
be
contact?
as well.
Is that?
Forgive my language, for
technically,
fuck's
yes.
sake. What? I mean, what's the guy
Right.
supposed to do?
Right.
I mean, honestly,
This
it
is
just
a
makes-
no-win. It's
it makes
no-win
no
bond
sense
conditions.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
None of
Right.
it does.
Yeah.
And there, you know what? If you're that concerned that he's this great threat to the community, that if he hands a kid a fucking box of popcorn, if you're that concerned, then set his bond at $1 million and keep his ass in the jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Agreed.
that's what Aquilino would do.
Aquilino would. Yeah, I was just
yeah.
thinking that. Dave. Boom.
You wouldn't put him in that position for
Yep.
sure. I don't know
Forgive
why
my
why
language.
they
I
put
am
him.
incredibly fired up about this one.
You know what? And that's the thing is, normally in the chat, the people that get the most, outraged on this panel are like myself and Lindsay. We usually are the ones that are usually the most outspoken about things like this. Sometimes Ashley will get fired up. Austin's pretty chill about almost everything, almost. Which is why I'm the most scared of him. But I
get
this
that
is
sentiment.
this is one where Dan was really fired up even in the moment about it.
Yep.
And the only thing that bothered me more than anything is just, again, it's that presumption of innocence that has evaporated from the system. That was my angle on this case. I think everybody else has their own angle.
Well,
And what's interesting is all the angles that we have on this are all equally valid and make for a big layer cake of just crazy that is this case.
right.
Well,
I wasn't as
go ahead,
into
Austin.
it the first time when we watched it live, but I watched it back today and first thought is this is a no-win.
No, it's a
Yeah.
catch-22, which
There's
is what
nothing.
they were.
There's no
saying.
good solution here.
No,
Yeah.
and that's why I was thinking. When I watched this, I was like, well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I understand the prior or the alleged offenses happen in the theater. Why would you allow him to work in the theater then?
Yeah.
So
Right.
You can't tell me everybody working for him now is over 18.
I don't know that.
Yeah.
But-
I'd bet good
Depends on
money
the
that
area.
there's at least a couple on the staff.
Probably.
Right.
Or they lie about their age and stuff, maybe too.
That are over
Um,
18 or that are under 18.
Under.
Underage.
Under. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
I
that's
bet
what
there's a
happened.
couple.
When you were reading through the history, Dan, part of the issues he experienced were underage workers too. With
Yeah.
Plus, if these are life offenses, and I don't know. I'm so confused about how we're handling bond, and I know that's something that we have unwrapped a couple of times, many times here on Sidebar.
the bond is also there to protect the public too. That's why you have
Sure,
bond
but-
conditions.
But okay,
But at the same time, you shouldn't make bond so wishy-washy.
right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if this guy is really that dangerous, as Dan said, it's $1 million bond or a $5 million bond, and then just that'll do it. Because Michigan's one of those states where I think you pretty much have to have a bond.
His bond is $50,000.
50,000.
He's got 11 allegations against him, and his bond is $50K.
Yeah.
That doesn't strike me as, oh my God, we've got a predator here.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's like
That's
Yeah.
And when
that's
this-
That's a small
that's
bond.
fishing out of season down in Florida.
It's really, and by the way, that's not an exaggeration. We have
No.
seen that.
seen it.
Yeah. And when this issue was brought up prior to now, because this is not the first time the court has heard this, you would think, well, maybe they missed it the first time and they're revisiting it, right? And they're like, okay, now no work in the theater is just causing issues, right? And no, they did not do that. They're just, they said the bond conditions apply to the theater as well. And yeah, That's all they said.
Judge
They didn't
Fleischer
say-
said it best when he said, "Pfft." I mean, that's how I
It
feel
really
about this
is.
whole thing.
Yeah.
This is just a great big raspberry. This is just like, why? We have to just redo the way that we set up bonds. And from the amounts to, first of all, we need to better define the purpose of a bond.
Yeah.
Correct.
It is a bond because judges will say all the damn time, well, bonds are not there to be punitive. They're not there because we assume you're guilty. They're just merely there to make sure the people appear in court and parentheses protect the public, close parentheses. But it's kind of not in a lot of cases, depending on the state and depending upon the judge. These things, and again, I know there's a specific amount that's written into the statute, except sometimes that's overlooked. And I know that I know it varies because some people have rich criminal history. Apparently, this guy does not have a deep criminal history, which is another reason why I think the bond was probably lower. But we just have to start all over with first how we set that up. What's the purpose of these bonds? Then we need to have some sort of rule about, okay, well, now that we've done that, now we have to set up bond conditions that make sense.
Right.
And we need to be consistent. That's the thing too, is I get giving judges some discretion, but we have to have more consistency in how bonds are set, how conditions are set, and that needs to be applied across the board.
Yep. I was just going to say that it should be done by the Supreme Court and apply to all 50 states, in my opinion.
It
They're all under one set of rules.
And the thing is, I'm trying to look at this at different angles. If somebody has stolen something from that movie theater, for instance, right? They wouldn't be allowed back in that movie theater. If somebody committed an offense in the movie theater, they shouldn't be allowed back under in that movie theater while on bond. This guy should have been the same way, in my opinion. If I'm looking at that logic, and I think thinking that way, I think that is the way to go.
Ashley, this reminds me of, they knew that they screwed up how this was done, and now to cover up their screw up, they're going back and being like, now they're trying to go back and erase their own mistakes.
No.
Yeah.
No, you should own up to your mistakes. And people don't do this very often. But I say, if I make a mistake, I'll own up to it. Everybody else should own up to their own mistakes. I don't care if you're the court. I don't care if you're a prosecutor. I don't care who you are. You are still obligated to own up to your mistakes. This was missed, not just once, but at least twice. And they should have fixed it. And now, because they didn't fix it, guess where this is what it led to.
Well, so then what's going to happen? Let's just say, just for shiggles, let's say this goes ahead and goes to a trial and he's found not guilty. Okay?
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, I don't even want to, what kind of a legal mess is out there? I mean, what kind of a sorry, just got to say it, what kind of a shitstorm is Michigan in for from this dude if he is found not guilty?
Yeah.
So they better hope that, when they do this trial, they better hope that he's found guilty on all counts, because otherwise he could come back because this was handled he is so badly. So obviously if he's guilty, he's probably going to be in prison for the rest of his life, which, great. If that's indeed what he is, then fine. But if not, yikes.
Will he really be, though? Because of the allegations? I mean, he didn't.
If he was found guilty on them, there's 11 allegations, and some of them are up to life
Up
in
to
prison.
Okay, never mind.
And he's
All right.
54. I'm just
He'll be
saying,
in his, at
even
least
if
in his 70s.
Yeah, even if he's sentenced to 20 years, 25 years, it's hard to say. I mean, but there's 11 allegations. And by the way, since they're over a different time span, they'd probably be run consecutively as opposed to concurrent.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know.
the problem also here is that we don't know what his exact bond conditions were, because Barbara is saying that he effed up, and Julie's saying, "How did he f up?"
Hey,
And I think it
Austin,
just,
could you go to my court,
Yes.
I
please,
think
and see if we can get bond conditions?
I think
Sorry
that's
to
the
interrupt,
problem.
Ashley.
Yeah, it's fine. I think that's the problem here, because if we know the bond conditions, if there is no contact at all, I just have a hard time believing they don't outline it by some extent.
It's Huron County, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I need to push back a little bit and challenge in the chat. And Barbara and Wahoo, I love you both. So let's be clear on that straight away. But Wahoo says he made a bad choice. Barbara says he fucked up by committing the crime. We don't know that he committed the crime. It's an allegation. And Wahoo, what do you mean by what you say? Because I'm not tracking with either of you at the moment. Not that we're required to track, we're required to debate here, but I would like more information. He made a bad choice, you say, Wahoo. What exactly was the bad choice that was made here other than running his business? And again, how do we define contact? That's such a loose term.
Now,
Yeah.
maybe what Wahoo's saying before he answers, maybe what he's saying, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but maybe, and not just Wahoo, but maybe someone would say, hey, maybe it's up to this guy to get clarification from either his attorney or from the court
That would be a valid argument.
What that means. What does no contact mean? Am I still allowed to run my business? Because, you are, if you are on these bond conditions, it is your obligation to make sure that you follow them reasonably. I mean, you don't necessarily have to parse down to, hey, am I allowed to go to a convenience store at 5 p.m. on a Saturday? Am I allowed to, drive past an intersection where children cross? I understand you shouldn't have to ask all those questions, but I mean, in this case, because you run a theater with children in, should you have to get clarification? I guess is maybe that's the one argument I could see that might have some validity about a bad choice.
Well, I'm kind of getting the feeling now, Michael, that we have to niche everything down to these specialty kind of situations.
I mean, if that means your bond's going to be revoked, then yes, because that's
this feels to me like okay, we have a picture of you handing out popcorn to children who just paid for it. That's no bueno with us. Don't do it again.
Correct.
Yeah.
That seems because again, if they were that concerned about this dude, why is he in the theater in the first place? Why is he out? None of this makes any sense.
Right.
Oh, Wahoo loves me too. So Wahoo said he should have been instructed by his representative if he had that, or probation should have done that. Common sense is that he should not be around minors. I agree, but the evidence, at least that we have so far, is that he was not properly instructed.
Yeah.
That's the thing this one's on the court, I think, more than it is anybody else.
I was trying to think that way too, Wahoo was like, if he had common sense that he shouldn't be around minors, wouldn't he make that determination to not stay and work? And that argument can be made. And I think it is on his discretion to make that call. But the thing is that he wasn't instructed. If he wasn't instructed on what exactly he couldn't do in the theater, that's where I have a problem with that.
Furthermore, if the guy's not career, which he's not, at least through the system. I mean, for all we know, he might have been doing this kind of behavior all his life. Again, allegations, we don't know, but he's not been in the system. So does he really even know when he's sitting in front of a probation officer what questions to ask?
Right.
Does he know to go, well, you know what? I got to shop. How's that going to look? You know what? If I'm called up to, run the concession for a minute because Johnny has to go in the back and vomit because he's got the plague or something, what do I do? But, you can sit here and ask questions all day long. At some point, you just have to
ask. Yeah.
You just have to act and make the best decision that you can. Barbara, thank you for the $5. Dan, Wahoo, and I both love you, but so does everybody else at TCF. Thank you, Barbara.
We love you too.
Well, let me just.
I'm
let
not
me just
finding
say
this in me court yet, so.
Okay. Thank you for looking.
Yep. I can't find Huron at all in there.
Really?
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if they have their own records.
I'll look that up now.
You know what? I think they do because I think I've been there.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
So I guess, I think it goes back to what a reasonable person would think and what a reasonable person should think. And to me, if someone said, okay, Mike, no contact with minors, to me, that would mean, okay, I can't touch, I can't hug, I can't
physically touch.
I can't have physical contact of any sort with a minor, but I can still run my business. To me, that's what a reasonable, because I like to, despite what some people might think, I do believe I'm a reasonably minded person. And so to me, that would be a reasonable position to have is, okay, if someone says no contact, that means no contact, no physical contact.
Well, Judge Boyd, I commend her for that because when she says no contact, she actually explains what no contact when she means no contact. Sometimes she means no verbal contact as well, and she says that when she puts in that.
Well, sometimes it's no harmful or injurious, which means harmful. Now, see, if again being a reasonable person, if someone says no harmful or injurious contact, but you can still have contact, what that means is I can still be around you. I could even still touch your shoulder, but I can't engage in, I can't obviously punch or kick or sometimes harmful or injurious. They'll even say verbal harmful or injurious contact too.
Or unsupervised.
Well, and then there's that. There's unsupervised.
Yeah.
But so to me, that further reinforces my point that contact is more of a physical thing.
Yeah.
Even though I know that some people don't look at it that way. Some people think contact is like being in close proximity. But then what is close proximity, right? So,
Yeah.
And then if it's in public, that's different than in private because
That's what this is.
This is where it just gets so stupid.
Yeah,
and at that point,
he's giving them tickets, and he's behind a counter, and I don't know. It does sound ridiculous.
To be a little bit graphic, unless he's taking the tickets and stuffing it down the kids' shirts, I don't see the issue here. I really don't. And I just looked it up out of curiosity. The current estimate in the United States is that 21.5% of the population is under 18. So tell me exactly how you avoid 21.5% of the population if you're out in
more
the
than
wild.
one in 5 people. How do you avoid that?
And that random citizen that took the picture of him with his kids, that's weird to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's weird. I
that
wonder
random citizen's got skin in the game.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
I want to bet you that's not normal.
I was gonna say that's more than just your typical Gladys Kravitz kind of neighbor. That's somebody something is really weird about that too.
Yeah,
this
that's
case
weird.
just has the stench of weird. And And again,
Oh, I'm just going to take a photo of him with my kids and submit it to the court.
But this isn't just about him. I mean, this is about, I think this really comes down to, we have to do just a full rework of all of this shit, man. We have to rework the way that we structure bond conditions. And I guess, as Dan has, we have to be, these bond conditions, you know how there's like 40 bond conditions. We're going to have to make these, it's going to have to look like a friggin' phone book by the time we're done to make sure that every nuance of this is covered. That way, you know, there can be no, there's no wiggle room. You know, this is very specifically outlined what is and what is not a violation.
Yeah,
That's why I keep thinking it's a setup, by the way. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make, is like, that's not normal. And if he felt uncomfortable of his kids getting the tickets, go get your damn tickets.
Right.
I don't know.
Right?
Now,
I don't usually curse on here, my apologies, but I'm just saying, go get your tickets. If you don't feel comfortable of your children going up to a predator and getting your tickets, go get your tickets.
Ashley believes the word damn is cursing, everybody, so.
Yes. You're responsible for your kids, right? So
yeah,
you need, but that sounds like a total setup to me.
This is just, and again, you know, because I don't know. I feel this way, and this is not just about this case. I feel this way about every case that we see where someone is treated like they are guilty before there's ever been a plea or a conviction. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate it. You know, and the more and more we watch court, that is a thing that, and I point it out in the chat more and more often because I see it more and more often, maybe because now I'm really looking for it. But, and again, it's a little different when someone has prior convictions, it's a little different. But even then, even if you have 50 prior convictions, guess what? You still get to carry the presumption of innocence in the case you're charged with. It doesn't matter if you're a monster. Because guess what? Maybe on case number 51, you didn't actually do it, and you shouldn't be treated like you're some kind of a monster on this case. Now, if they want to hit you with high bond conditions, if they want to chastise you for being a piece of crap, 50 times before, neat. But each case should be handled as if it's a new one from the perspective of, in that case, in that instance, you carry the presumption of innocence. Now, yeah, if you have prior convictions and stuff, obviously they have to change how bond conditions work. They have to change how they handle you.
Yes.
That's some of that statutory. Some of that is just common sense. Like, hey, if somebody has, 78 theft convictions, which we've seen, some of those cases in Texas and West's and Stevens and Boyd's Court and others, yeah, obviously, having stricter conditions on where they can go and what they do. Sure. Neat. That's fine. But
it all boils down to one thing. Like, why did they even allow him to work in the theater in the first place? This wouldn't have happened if that was sorted out.
If they were specific, if they nailed this down right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Now he may have an appeal of some kind, or he may be able to challenge that and say, yeah, but this is my business, guys. You can't say get work and then say to me, but you can't work here. And then, well, where can I work where I won't have contact? Then he could go down that rabbit hole. But they didn't do that. And then retroactively they did later. And they said, oh, by the way, we're violating you because you screwed up. But I didn't know I screwed up because you didn't tell me that this was bad. Well, now we're telling you it's bad. And we're going to punish you now for something that we, the court, should have done beforehand. That
no,
is a pile of dog crap.
and they did come before them before, and they told them the same exact thing. And that's the thing that I'm frustrated with, because they
Well,
already brought this issue up
yeah.
beforehand, and they still didn't fix it. They still said, "Oh, this still
Right. If I go to court and they
still
don't,
applies to bond."
yeah, and they don't tell me, and I've been again, and I've been there before, and they still didn't tell me. As far as I know, that doesn't mean that means to me I haven't done anything wrong on my bond conditions. But then they're like, "Oh crap! Well, we might have screwed up this one, guys. Let's let's just violate him." But
Right.
Well, yeah,
Ugh.
I
Dumb.
don't know.
Yep.
There's certain things that
I found
have
it weird
weird
that it
things
wasn't in the. So this bond violation and the first one were with different defense attorneys. I find it
Yeah.
weird how the first attorney did not tell or have it written in the case file or anything that there was a bond violation. Now, on the other hand, the Mr. Rolfe could have done the same thing and told the attorney that, hey, this happened, but I don't think much of it or something like that. But
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird that he does have two separate attorneys for the same case.
Well,
So-
it's multiple cases now because there's 11
Yeah.
counts.
Right.
From what
the
from what my buddy Super Grok could find, it doesn't necessarily read that they're all being tried as one case. So
Wow.
he might have different representation on some other things.
Yeah,
could be.
that makes things even more confusing here. But
Right. That complicates matters a lot.
Yep. I was going to say maybe that first attorney could have handled the one case by itself, but now that it's gotten more detailed, so to speak, he needs a higher tier attorney. And maybe that could be the attorney thing, or I don't think it was a public defender to a paid or paid to a public defender situation.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have just kind of summing up my thoughts. I really find this was handled badly,
Well,
and I think he should have had. I know I think he should have had another shot at this. To be honest, at
Yeah,
least.
I think so too, because one of the things I've been struggling with in my brain for the last few minutes while you guys have been chatting is the language that we hear so often in the court, like, what would a reasonable and prudent person do? Well, that kind of language, and they're going to apply it to stuff like this, but it opens to interpretation. Well, I think Wahoo's perspective is, well, a reasonable and prudent person wouldn't have been out there at the concession stand. Okay. But I will tell you, as a business person, reasonable and prudent Dan would be making his business run.
yeah.
Because if people aren't being served, if people aren't enjoying their experience, that will destroy your business, which we know from the research that was done. His business was already struggling post-COVID, as most movie
Right.
theaters have
Right.
been.
Yep.
So reasonable and prudent is also a matter of perspective.
Yes. But the law is
that's
littered
another
with
problem.
it.
Yes.
He snaps that Jason Rogers, that's the guy that snapped the photo. He snaps a photo of Wolf working near his 11 and 14-year-old kids. It doesn't say he took a photo of him having contact with them, so to speak. Just that he was near them.
So yeah, close proximity, like we talked about, like I talked about before.
Something's terribly wrong here.
Yeah, this is one of those where I think they just really wanted this guy. And I hate being the conspiracy guy because I don't like doing it, but unfortunately, sometimes, the situation sort of calls for it. And this just sounds like they kind of wanted to put this guy in.
Away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for a violation.
Yeah.
And
Smallest
they
fit
got one.
they can, and
So then
they got it.
Then the question is why?
Because he is
Community pressure.
Yeah.
Optics.
Probably
Optics,
because it is
yep.
a small. It's probably it's a small community. So yeah, and
okay.
no wonder that guy took a picture because he knew this guy's business. Apparently.
What's my F word count at the moment? 2. Let's go for the trifecta. Fucking bullshit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear community pressure anything.
But
Again,
Dan,
because
that's
again a presumption of innocence. For
right.
God's sakes.
I hear you and I agree with you. But we know that community pressure is a thing. We know that the squeaky wheel gets the and especially in these smaller communities. Yeah, if this is Phoenix, like the court just does what it does and nobody gives a damn. But in these smaller communities, there's a lot more pressure because there's a lot fewer people and that means there's votes can be swayed very easily.
Yeah.
It is an election year.
Oh yeah,
And
it's Prill-
if I heard-
saying,
If I heard it in the case correctly, the picture was taken by the guy, sent to the chief of police, who then called one of his officers there. So when you get a call from the chief of police, or when you call the chief of police, you're gonna get it something, if that makes sense.
Oh hell, Prill's up this year.
yeah,
Oh really?
yeah.
Oh yeah, we made
So-
that. We made that statement before, right? Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
another
just looked it up
case.
again.
So this is one of those where I think it's, I might have sort of accidentally stumbled on the solution here to
Yeah,
this, and that
I think
is
you did.
not
I think we have
not
to
the
take
solution
this
to
one
the
down.
problem, but the reason behind this, and
Yeah.
that is that we've got an election year. We got a guy that the court kind of screwed up. We have a community that's probably outraged because this guy who's been running this business, who people in the community are just going to assume is guilty, and maybe
Alleged
he is,
predator.
but we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. Let's just again emphasize that. But as far, once someone is accused of something this dastardly, and especially if there's multiple counts, well, the community is going to go, we need to do something about it. Why didn't the court do something about it? So the court goes, ooh, let's go back and let's retroactively take care of this situation. And an attorney spots this and goes, hey, judge, this is kind of bullcrap. I mean, we're kind of setting him up to fail here.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, well, his fault. Bye. And that's it.
So Wahoo, let me help you out. You just said, what if he's giving out candy at Halloween at his home? That is not the same, because
No.
the difference there is you're turning on your porch light and you're inviting them up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Here you are a going concern out in the community. An
You're a legitimate
established going
business.
concern, a business where people come and go all the time. If you open your doors to one, you have to open your doors to all, unless you are banning them for a specific reason, like
No,
they stole from you.
No kids are allowed. Will not work here.
So it's not the same. I get what you're saying, but it's not the same situation.
Yeah. But I
He
thought of
has-
that, Wahoo.
he
That's
has
actually, yeah.
He has a going concern that the court has let him continue to run.
Yeah.
It doesn't. How will I feel if he's found guilty? I'll feel fine about it, Barbara, if the evidence shows that.
Yeah.
But we're not there.
We're not
Right.
That's
saying
my
that he's
problem with
guilty. We're not saying he's guilty or not guilty. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about
Because, right.
like
I'm talking
Obviously,
about his
if-
rights in the moment.
yeah.
Correct.
But even though,
His
you know what?
Constitutional rights.
Let me just say this, and this might be like a really hot take and very controversial. If he's found guilty, I'm still going to feel the same way about someone having their rights violated
Mm.
Yes.
when they haven't been found guilty yet. Like if he's found guilty, yeah, whatever, throw him away, just put him away for life, or do whatever the frig you're going to do with him. Whatever, fine. But until that happens, unless we just want to go ahead and drop the whole guise of innocent until proven guilty, unless we just want to go to what some other countries do and just officially write it and codify it and say, nope, you're guilty until proven innocent. Unless we just want to, and that would probably be a much more honest way that we handle this system. I mean, that really would, because, in many Middle Eastern countries, in many parts of the world, many Asian countries, you are guilty until you're proven innocent. And it is up to you, the accused,
To
prove that you didn't do it, which, I mean, is a completely BS way to handle things. But the system is sort of turning that way. We're sort of headed in that direction. And it bothers me. And again, I'm not, I cannot emphasize this enough. I don't want to defend monsters, okay? But not everybody that's accused of a crime is actually guilty of said crime.
Exactly.
No. And this whole thing, and this is why I'm kind of leaning to where you went, Michael, with the election maybe being the answer and the community pressure that he has on him.
Yeah.
I kind of I don't know. I'm reformulating my thought. I'm just at the end of the day, I'm thinking he's been set up.
Yep.
Because the reasonable and prudent thing for the court to do would have been if the court had been presented with this picture. And there is no evidence that this was something that was brought up before, because it would have come up in court if it had been.
Right.
Like, dude, this is the second time we've told you. No.
Yep.
It would have been, you can't do that.
Right. Well,
So
and then
you either find a way to run your business from the closet, or you can't be in there. Or you flat tell them, look, you can't be in there anymore.
Right.
And
But
they-
to
and they did- and
revoke
they did-
him,
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree
I
with
don't
you. This
think-
feels more and more like community pressure in an election.
It's community pressure, the election. It's going to be a campaign at Judge Prill supports child predators. It's going to be like one of these stupid political ads, and it is it's such BS, but that's what happens. And this is why we generally don't talk politics here, because politics is such BS. And it causes BS things like this to happen. The court system already has enough problems without injecting the toxicity of politics into it. But unfortunately, the problem with politics is that it does leak in here. And that's why, while we can avoid talking about it for the most part, the reality is that it is something that underscores every aspect of our lives, including the justice system. So that's why it leaks in even here on TCF, because guess what? It's there. And I'm only assuming that that's what happened here, but I've got, I got 48 years of life experience that tells me that, and you can call it cynical, but I really think that there's a lot of merit to what I'm saying here about the community pressure and the political aspect. And then you factor in Judge Prill's up for re-election. And yeah, that's me putting the puzzle pieces together.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're 5 minutes over. We should probably wrap this up so people can go watch Lone Wolf.
Yeah.
But, final thoughts, Austin? Any?
Something's not right here. Haven't figured it out yet, but I'm doing research this weekend.
I look forward to finding out what you find. Michael?
Sounds good.
Well, I'll just reiterate, politics and pretty much everything don't mix. And this is a fine example of it. And I think this is This is
Ding, ding, ding.
a court that is, well, this is a system that is trying to correct itself to look better for the public and caving to the public pressure. And that's what this, after all this talk tonight, that's what this feels like to me.
Ashley?
If this was going to be corrected, they had chances to correct it. This was brought to before the court during the, when bond conditions were given out, and a prior instance that I know of. So this could have been corrected then, and then the whole situation would have not have happened if that was fixed then. But the fact is that it wasn't fixed makes me think there's ulterior motives involved, and that people are pieces of crap sometimes.
I think you guys pretty much all said it, and you all know where I stand, so you don't need me to reiterate it. But spirited debate, as Wahoo said. So thank you guys for
Thank you for debating.
arguing with me. This has been fun. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific for the morning show and second session after that. Hang tight. We're going to throw it over to Lone Wolf so you guys can go watch him for a little bit and give him some love.
Yay.
Bye, everybody. Take care. God bless.
Bye.
Bye. See you all tomorrow.